Morning. Dave, Trevor, Vic, Dominic, Rico, how are you guys? MVP. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that, man. And if you have questions, just feel free to ask. That's why I'm here. Nice job on Tesla's part to perk up. Coin interesting had some nice news yesterday that they're joining the S&P 500. For me, that's not normally news that I go piling into stocks on, but it finally made its way over the 200. So we'll see if this thing wants to give us a setup. Shopify was another one that's joining the NASDAQ 100. Coincidentally, this thing had downgrades before that. Makes you think who wanted in. Someone wanted in. Ada, that's a good question, but I actually, the question is, can you elaborate more on the moment when you don't watch indexes anymore and you concentrate solely on setups? Yeah, how do I say this? I always have an eye on the indices. And part of the reason that is, it's two things, right? I have an eye on the indices and I have an eye on the group that the stock is in. And so my focus is always, when I buy something, I want to make sure that I'm not buying something against the market. So like if I want to buy a tech stock, right? If I want to buy a tech stock, then I'm making sure that I buy it on a day where the QQQ is heading higher. If I want to buy a gold name, I want to make sure that I'm buying it ideally in a day in which gold's going up or a day where the gold miners are acting well. But what day is most likely for the gold miners to be acting well? Well, the answer is when gold's going up, right? So that is something that I always think about, trying to get positioned. Now, if the market's just like above its 200 and it's above the 50-day and we've been like in a 30 or 40-day trend, and we're just kind of hanging out above the 50 and the 200 and, the market's just been pretty low volatility. And, for a few weeks, stocks have just been working. Then I don't concern myself too much with the indices at that moment. Now, when the indices start to get a little bit extended, from their respective moving averages, then I also, kind of take notice of that. And then I just want to make sure that the stocks that I'm watching, don't start to fail when the market's super extended. Yeah. I will. I have taken buys in pre-market before, but we'll just let the market open, and then the real spot for Palantir, in case you're not going to take it today, for instance, is this cup and handle breakout. The longer this thing goes sideways up here, the better. When this thing breaks out 125, I probably don't see what's stopping this thing from going 140s, 150s. If it can break out. There's some nice setups today. We'll see. Yeah, semis are definitely heating up. I had the idea of Soxel the other day, and like a total schmuck. Like I literally had this 1376 breakout right here. And then I just closed it because it closed weak like a total idiot. The next day it does nothing wrong. And then now look at it. How do you think I'm feeling today? Like a clown. Did the same thing on Amazon, same exact day. I bought the 193 push, closed it because it didn't close weak, or because it kind of closed weak. And I was like, I can buy it back tomorrow. Right? Then the very next day, it just did nothing wrong, but didn't even get close to what my low of day stop was. And then look at what it did the next day. You guys should know how I'm feeling today. Like an idiot. It just goes to show you, respect your stop once you enter. Don't be trying to say, close week. Like, just respect it. If your stop was low of day, use low of day. If your stop was low of day, just use your low of day. Don't try to just get out and get back in and just fuck around with the position too much. Jesus. I did that, and then that's ALB. A-Lab. Yeah, A-Lab, TSM back above the 200. AVGO was already above the 200. Looks like your leader in the space. NVIDIA. God, NVIDIA's a little frustrating too. I was looking at NVIDIA down here as a potential higher low setup. So the way I was treating it was, this was your low. The hell? This is your low. This is your higher low. And I was buying it over 99.50. And it gapped without me. And I was like, we'll wait and see. Jesus. I've got a bunch of longs open, but, so I could have Amazon, could have Soxel, could have NVIDIA, could have Baba, could have so many more names, but not too frustrated about it. No, Marco. No, Marco. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, I saw yesterday what happened, and EMPH stayed heavy on the news, and FSLR came right back to highs. But the reality is they're not in the top 40 group. If they're going to go higher, give them some time, right? Let them set up above their 200. The biggest moves don't occur below the downtrending 200. They occur above the 200. Right? If FSLR is going to go on and make a huge move, it's going to be when it gets above its own 200. Yeah, 66.50 will be a good level on TEM. Just the longer it goes sideways here, the better. Tighten up a little bit. Let these moving averages straighten out. Yeah. Let it straighten out. No, Gian. That's actually, this was on our watch list last night. I'm sure you know, because I know you're in the room. I like SE. This one's a little gone. I've been watching SE now since mid-April. That sucks. Held right at the 200, got above the 50, and then 158. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it looks awesome. Really nice consolidation. Break above all-time high. This thing moves. Let's see. almost 4% per day. And right now we are we're like 5x its ADR. No, but this is an earnings gap up. So, I mean, it looks pretty good. We'll see what happens at the open. If we can get like a little intraday pullback to like rising 60-minute support, and then, a little 620 setup from there. We'll walk it through in the room at the open. But yeah, both SE and LOAR are both definitely on the radar. I mean, this is a cup and a handle. Not to mention LOAR is like the fourth best group in the market right now, aerospace and defense. But we'll see. I mean, this is gapping up, but we'll see. Yeah, 5-minute ORB means 5-minute opening range break. So you have a 5-minute candle, and then you're looking to buy above that first 5-minute candle. AUR, does that look like a good setup to me? Let's see. I mean, AUR looks fine, but if I'm not mistaken, AUR is information technology. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, honestly. But earnings and sales suck. No sales. Oh, Aurora. Yeah, no earnings and sales. I mean, like from a technical perspective, it's a nice setup, but the reality is that why would an institution come in and continue buying this thing? They don't make any money. I mean, I suppose that doesn't matter. But matters to me. I'd like to see some kind of earnings and sales. Otherwise, look at this thing. Since December, this thing has been a living hell. I mean, needs a little momentum. I don't know what this thing needs. It needs to get going is what. Yeah, this one just needs to get going too. GRAL. They actually have really nice accelerating earnings and sales. Yeah, GRAL. How much trading do I do before and after hours? Not a ton. I'm mostly focused, just kind of getting prepared for the open, looking at futures markets, checking in on my open positions, scanning for any earnings gappers, any earnings decliners. That's what I'm more so focused on. Kelvin, it's on my X page. Well, right now I want Uber to pause. I don't want Uber to break out yet. So for Uber, I just want it to handle a little bit more here, right? I thought yesterday it was buyable at $84 as a higher low setup, and I gave that as a setup in the room, but I didn't buy it. And ideally, I'm hoping for some pullback and some more sideways here. All right, let the 20 and the 50 catch up a little bit more. I don't like buying a breakout this extended from the 50-day. Yeah, it's not even that extended, honestly. It's not even that extended. But it's about 4 times its average daily range above the 50. Could use some sideways. But a simple 5-minute opening range break. That's all you need. A simple 5-minute opening range break. It's a very simple setup. Do I like Hertz for a swing? And they just posted earnings last night. You got Bill Ackman pumping them for you for life. I mean, their earnings suck. I mean, the reality is you only look at one of my tweets that I posted yesterday. I posted like 15 or 20 names, right? That's enough to fill up a few portfolios, right? You don't really need Hertz in there. It's the reality. It's like Hertz hardly makes the cut. It's not even on my list. It's not like it can't be good at some point, but it's just not in a great group. Do I like Archer here? I saw the news with Palantir yesterday. Again, speculative as hell. And they make no money either. I mean, these companies that make no money, they tend to move the fastest. But this has an interesting little pivot here. It's got to get going. Well, two things with an undercut rally. One, I want to make sure that when I'm buying it, the market's also starting to turn back up and that the stock's in a leading group. I want to just avoid making sure like a stock that's just pulling an undercut isn't just going to die. So one of the best ways to make sure that that doesn't happen is to make sure that you're buying a stock that's at least in a leading group. Yeah, NRG was a good example of that, but they also had news too. They did like some $12 billion acquisition. Kind of watching the 150.61 close, but this thing also was just on a kind of a crazy grind before earnings, right? So, let it pause here or leave it alone. My camera's unfocused. Gosh. Just is what it is. Let me see. How's that? Oh, yeah. We're back. Thanks, Takeshi. Yeah, PanW is interesting. It's in a good group. Yeah, I saw PanW yesterday. I talked about it on stream, but the problem here is, you've got other names that are acting better. Like Zscaler is acting way better. Okta is acting better. CrowdStrike's acting better. Rubrik acting a little bit better. Yeah, I thought the weakness in Spot was a little interesting because it wasn't just in Spotify, it was also in Netflix. But where did this thing bounce? This thing bounced right at the ascending 20. So, maybe this thing just needs to finish building out the right-hand side, and it could just be that this is, higher lows. Right? Could just be that these are higher lows. And it's just finding support at rising moving average, right? I'm not sure, but that's kind of what it looks like to me. And if it gets back over 153, that could look interesting. I don't want to think about it too much. The stock's been an absolute monster, right? It deserves a little rest. I'm not going to freak out one way or the other while the thing's above the 50, the 200, the 20. You know what I mean? There's no need. It earns the benefit of the doubt. There are other stocks that are worse than this one. What time frame do I look at when identifying a leading group? Well, when I'm identifying a leading group, I look at relative strength over the last 90 days. Right? It has nothing to do with a particular time frame, right? Because a leading group could still be stocks going down. And why do I say that? Because if the whole market is getting destroyed, right? But this particular group of stocks is also going down, just not as much as everything else. It actually has higher relative strength. Does that make sense? So like its relative strength line could still be going up, even if it's going down. Like even if the group of stocks is going down, because it might just mean that everything else around it is going down more. So really, it's more so a measure of relative strength. It's not so much looking at a particular time frame and saying, oh, these look best visually. I mean, that helps, right? But the reason that they even look best visually is because they're getting accumulated or not sold off as fast as everything else in the market. So good questions, Stocky. That's funny. But yeah, that's the way I look at it. TVTX, too thin. I mean, it's fine. This looked great down here. Nice and tight. Yeah, it looks fine. It's just thin. What group is this thing in? Biotech. So just be careful, right? It's a biotech with TVTX. Yeah, this thing still has to take out this 1065 level, which it's kind of trying to do today. Captain Well. Yeah, shop interesting. Shop interesting. Arms with semis. Yeah, Arms with semis name. These semis have been acting a little bit better, except this one here is still below its 200, right? 133 is its 200-day moving average. There are ones that are acting even better than that. TSM's above its 200. AVGO's above its 200. CRDO's above its 200, if I'm not mistaken. A-Lab's above its 200. Focus on those. Those are better. I mean, ARM can eventually go, but if you want to be in the leaders, be in the ones that are getting accumulated even more, or go down least. Your entry wasn't bad on 5.6 on IDT, Brandon. Not bad. was really, I'm sure would have been better on 1028. This right here looked pretty superb too. 11.5, 11.6, but obviously you end up getting stopped out of that, which is fine. Not before a pretty decent move up. And then recently here too, this thing looked pretty decent. Like just right over this little pivot here. 5.1 looked pretty good too, but I don't mind the 5.6. You kind of spotted some momentum. I mean, it's in there. It's so thin though. Not one that I would ever trade. All it takes is one person to come in and knock this whole thing down. Very nice. I love to hear that. Yeah, some of the names act fine. What was the other one? Rambus. You've had a big problem with drawdowns. You've literally bought most of the same names I also purchased. Oddly, on the same day as Palantir, Hood, Netflix, etc. But I have a big problem getting in too many others and getting whipped around. Do you normally buy more than one stock in a day, averaging like 2-3 per day? So the first thing that I like to do is I like to make sure that I have traction on my very first name. So, I try to get myself into one or two, right? And I make sure that they're stocks that I believe to be leaders. So, right, Netflix was the first one that I bought. Right here on 422. And I bought it over this little flat base breakout right on the prior day. The market was acting a little bit rough on 421, hence the reason Netflix wicked back. And I wasn't trying to buy a stock, even on good earnings, when the market was pulling back. So I came in the next day when the market was pushing higher, and I bought 1,019, right, with stop at low of day. Next day, I literally came in on Palantir, and it was a very similar setup where it was like a flat base breakout, right? It was just a very simple flat base, nothing crazy about it at all. And I bought this thing at like 99.90s effectively. And this was on 423. Then the very next day, because I now had traction on Netflix and Palantir, the very next day I came in and brought CrowdStrike, right? Same deal, kind of like Netflix, where it was then breaking through that $400 psychological level at 424, and Uber on 424 as a 50 SMA reclaim. And these were all names that were names on the watch list. 424, same exact day. So it's like on the third day, when I already had traction on my first two, then I came in and I bought two more, right? Because I'd already seen traction. I already have some positive green going on in Netflix, in Palantir. Then I come in and I buy Uber and CrowdStrike. Now all of a sudden, literally within the blink of an eye, I'm in four names that are working. And I start to say to myself, okay, what else starts to look good? Right? BABA starts to come on my radar as a higher low setup. NVIDIA starts to hit my radar as a higher low setup. Hood started to get my attention. TTWO was one that I missed. So there was just plentiful amount of setups. And I was just like, okay, I'm getting, and then even Tesla, like it was just consolidating and trying to break through the little downtrending line at the time. Right? Like I was trying to buy this thing right here, 425, but I was traveling, had this really nice downtrend line, break over earnings high. Again, this was also on the watch list, and then I missed it, and then it just stayed on the watch list, and I was looking at the 291, 292 breakout spot. And so I'm always just trying to not get – here's the thing that I think is going on with you, James. You're trying to get all of your money to work for you in one day. Right? I'm trying to have the market pull me in with more good setups. I think that's the difference there. Is like, you're trying to average 2-3 setups. And then what happens is when you paper cut yourself on 2 of the 3 and one of them goes on to work, you choke your one off quickly because you're just not trying to close the day red, right? I think that's the problem that you're probably having. It sounds probably like the problem that you're having. And it would be my guess is that you need to make sure that you're just getting one and then getting some traction on it, getting another, getting some traction on it, getting another, getting some traction on it, and focus on one at a time and treat every position for its own price action. So you buy it, you set your stop, you let it work. So yeah, James, that's exactly what happens. Damn. I believe it. Trust me, man. I've been there. I'm here to help the best I can, so make sure you're asking these kind of questions because I've been in your shoes before. So yeah, of course. And then that's how then you miss Hood, then you miss MSTR, then you miss re-adding Palantir, then you miss NVIDIA higher low setup, then you miss Tesla. And all of a sudden, it's like, damn, I had Uber, I had Netflix, I had Palantir perfectly. And, it just, you're not helping yourself out any because you choked those off just to close green because you took 2 losses on 2 other ones. And this also is why, James, position sizing is very important, right? You need to know how quickly a stock moves and you need to know where you're setting your stop because, if you take a 10% portfolio position, meaning you have a $100,000 account and you're telling yourself, I'm not going to take more than $10,000 to $15,000 positions, maybe 20 if the setup is really tight. Okay, so you buy Palantir over the breakout of 100, right? It's like you're only buying 100, 150 shares. That's it. With like a $50, $80, $90 stop, right? Something in that neighborhood, depending on how tight the setup is, right? It might be a $1.50 stop. So it's like you're risking $200 on your 100K setup, on your 100K portfolio, and what are you risking? 0.2, right? Like no big deal. You can't go plowing into that and plowing into another one, take 2 losses, and now your third one, it had a nice push on the day and you're out, right? It's like the same thing I saw people do with Tesla on Friday. It's like this thing has this really big push, right off the open, and people are trimming on day one. I'm like, this thing just broke above the 200. Why are you trimming? Well, because they oversized. They oversized, and now they're not comfortable to hold it, and this pullback happens, and then all of a sudden this thing gaps up huge on them, and they're out, right? They can't even get back in. They don't know how to get back in. They're just like racking their brain. They're like, damn, Tesla's gone without me. That sucks. Then all of a sudden you maybe try chasing this thing in the morning or buying the dip, and then it just does nothing, and you end up cutting it, and then it gaps up again. So it's just like you just buy it right, sit tight, make sure you size them properly. That's it. Yeah, Jeff's awesome. 1 month RS spreadsheets are awesome. And he gives exactly a step-by-step guide. Takeshi, very, very nice. Why use 90-day relative strength? What's your holding period? You can do 3. I like to look at 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, relative strength. I just want to know what are in the top groups, right? I want to know what group is sticking around. I want to know what group is there for 1 month, and then at 3 months, if they're still there, or I notice that they're getting stronger, and I notice that they got even better technical setups. My type of holding period is however long the stock will let me be in. I'm a swing trader first, and I'm a position trader second, right? I'm not just a position trader off the start. Like I don't buy a stock and say, I'm going to hold it for the long term. That's not how it works, right? I'm not going to just say that blatantly, and then the stock is in a downtrend, and now I'm just a holder of the long term, right? That's not how it works. The stock has to prove to me that it wants to be held for the long term with its own price action, just buying an earnings gap up and it's just trending above the 10 and the 20. And then comes next quarter, if I can get that long with the hold, and then it gaps up again on good earnings. Now I'm using like the 50 and the 200. And then it's a position trade. So the stock gets to decide how long I hold it for. I don't make that decision before I buy it. Yeah, I looked at crowd out of this little bull flag setup. Um, it could be. I thought yesterday over prior day high was pretty good. So like if you would have bought it over 420, it would have looked pretty good. But you could just let it go sideways a little bit longer, and then a break of all time high and a flat base breakout. Right? You got your cup, you'll have your handle, and then you'll just buy it when it breaks out of that cup. But either could work. Just be cautious on the market here. The market could easily pull in today, so just don't fight the market. Make sure you're aligning your buy in a strong market, which the market's now officially above the 200. So what kind of trader is my Discord suitable for? Really, I would say for anybody, man. Not necessarily anybody. I don't really talk a lot about day trading. There are opportunities there to take day trades that I might bring up, but really it's for everybody. If you're super, super new, or if you're experienced veteran, and you're just like looking for a community to be in of like-minded swing traders. And, I really make sure that I'm there, live streaming every single day if I'm at the desk. Same way you guys see me live streaming here. I'm answering questions in the room. People who still struggle with scanning the market, putting together a daily watch list and a video on those setups. So it's like depends, man. It's for everybody. It's not for everybody, but people who are really trying to button up their swing trading and learn. I think that's who it's most suitable for. People who want to make trading more of a career, right? It's like I'm in front of my desk every single day before I had a Discord trading, right? So it's like, but I had a lot of people asking, if I did one-on-one mentorships, and that is just way too time consuming. So I felt like teaching in a group setting, kind of like this, where I get to talk to 1,000 people at one time, is like the easiest way to communicate, right? Typing stuff out all day, it's just effectively impossible. So, doing it kind of in a group setting, and somebody asks a question, and, everybody gets to hear the answer, is probably the easiest way to teach and to learn. And some people be like, oh, I had that question before. Like, cool, he answered it. Right. Or, there's educational videos in there too, right? Like answering, questions on certain topics, like, what is progressive exposure and what is proper position sizing, and, how I play both sides of the market, stuff like that. So, oh, hell yeah. Here for the new. I love it. Your equity curve is going up since you've been in the room. I love that, man. That's awesome. Oh, man, that makes me so happy to hear. Got to post that. You've been trading a couple years, been in Pat Walker's room, Zanger's room, and my room's the best you've been in. That is super awesome, man. Makes me very happy to hear. At least I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Like I said, you guys get to see my mistakes too, right? It's like I owned Amazon, I owned Soxel. It's like I'm making mistakes all the time too. So, I'm over here trying to perfect what I do even more. Gian, you're the man. Oh, Noah, you're in there too. Holy cow. A bunch of you guys. Love you all. You guys are the best. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's make sure we get through this watch list here. So really for today, I don't see a ton. I am going to be watching the earnings gappers, right? LOAR will be an interesting one. Shopify will be another one that I'll be keeping an eye on. SE had a big earnings gap up. Yeah. Jeff, that link's on my X. It's on my X page. Pasqua, I know you're in there too, man. Thanks for being there. Gian, Noah, you guys are awesome. Steve, here for the new. Trader Prad, know you're in there too, brother. Thank you, guys. And thanks for doing the morning streams, man. I mean, you guys don't get sick of listening to me. You guys are already listening to me for like 5 extra hours. Yeah, we'll see how these earnings gappers act. All right, LOARSE. You know, a little pullback in the morning, and then like a 620 setup off an ascending moving average, I think would be perfect. I did, yeah. Naz, a couple days ago, you down talk coin versus others in the sectors. Yes, I did, because it wasn't above its 200. And what's finally happened is I finally put it on my watch list last night. It's not lost on me that if Bitcoin keeps going and coin's now above its 200, that's exactly where uptrends start. But, you know, you think about a name like coin coming off the bottom, right? And then you think about a name like, and this was, you know, it broke its 200. And then you think about a name like MSTR that couldn't break its 200. You know, there's a reason why one made a better move versus the other. Not saying that, coin was going to stay down forever. I just know that you don't want to be in stocks as swings below the 200. Below the 200 equals a downtrend. So now that it's above its 200, if it can just give me a technical setup that I understand, then I'm all for, trying to get positioned in this thing. Obviously earnings and sales weren't incredible, but they did an offering, so they've got a little extra cash to work with. That's good. But if Bitcoin's going to continue higher, like 120, 130, 150,000, I mean, in the back of my mind, I start to say to myself, okay, well, then it's likely, coin above the 200 can give us a really nice move, right? Does that mean I'm buying it at 250 or 240 or 260? I mean, who knows? But if it's above the 200, then it's in an uptrend. I mean, look at the move that it made once it got above its uptrend here, right? It finally got above its 200, and then it pulled back, found some support on the rising 200, and then look at the kind of move it gives above the 200, not below. So it's like once it breaks below, right? When it breaks below, it just does nothing. It's nothing. And then it gaps back up above, and then it's off to the races. So it's like, I really want to make sure I'm focused on this thing when it's above the 200, not below. And again, I always give the example of like AMR, because this one was like the biggest eye opener for me. Got to go back even a little bit further. Right? Look at this thing. This thing was in a downtrend for a while. And then all of a sudden, one day, this thing gets above its 200, right? You could see how steep this 200 was. So it was in a big downtrend from prices much higher, right? This thing goes all the way to $3, basically. Then finally gets above its 200. Then what does it do? It goes sideways. It consolidates, right? It goes sideways, it consolidates, and it breaks out again from 8 to 14 in just a matter of days. And then what does it do? It starts to go sideways again. Right. And then it literally just does that same stair-stepping pattern over and over and over. It goes up, goes sideways, goes up, goes sideways. And by the way, I didn't come in and buy this thing until $65. I remember it like it was yesterday. $65 is where I came in. Made a little move up off the 50, tightened up really, really nicely. And then right there, this is the day I came in. February 1st, 2022, when I had basically just become a swing trader 2 months earlier. And then what did this thing do? 65 to 180, right? And the stock had just gotten above the 200, and it was at $3. And it would be like, oh man, yeah, but you could have bought it at 3. Yeah, but I didn't. I bought it at 65 and still did really well on it. And that's the most important part. The day that you buy it, do you get traction and see green right away? And the rest of it just allows you to hold. So that's the most important part. John, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Neb, thanks, brother. Never boring to hear. I mean, we do have some fun, that's for sure. We do crack some jokes. 10-year looking bullish. Ethereum, what a move up recently.
The phrase will move up needs to go to a higher level, grade, or class. It can also mean.
Seriously, Siri? Why did I hold Sorry about that, guys. Why did I hold TMDX and Toast through the weekend? Both didn't close well. Well, one, my stop was lower, right? So I bought TMDX 115.19, and the reason that I held it, so I bought it on this day here. The reason that I held it is because I was using low of day as my stop, and it may have not closed well, but it just, I was already in Tesla, and Tesla was acting really well. I bought TMDX and Toast, and neither of them did anything wrong. So that's the thing. That's the big thing. If you're not going to close that low, if these were like fresh positions and I had like no exposure to the market, then I would be a little bit more concerned. But the reality for me is I already had Uber working, I had Netflix working, I had Crowd working. So that was the thing. It's like I was, Tesla was working really well. So I was like working behind traction. And so like, when I'm working behind traction, then, I just want to respect my stop. If my stop is low of day, then my stop should be low of day. And, I didn't do something like that in Amazon or Soxel, and I highly regretted it. No, I was flat on them at the close. I wasn't big red. Like Toast was flat, TMDX was small red, and then Tesla was bright green, right? Tesla had a huge push for me. Oops. So I bought Tesla, 292s, 292.83, and, the thing was just gone. It pulled back, but, where it closed, I'm up 10 points on it, basically. Not really, but 7 points, basically, from my entry. So, I'm not going to just choke off some as long as they're not breaking low of day. And again, it's a really good reminder because I did something very similar in Soxel, and I did something similar in Amazon, and I'm regretting both of those as well. Right? It's like I had a 193 on Amazon a few days ago. Right? It was just kind of breaking this little flat pivot. Plus it was above the 50-day. And I bought this thing literally right on 5.8, right in here. And, it didn't close all that well, but it didn't break low of day. And I had enough size to know that if it broke low of day, I would totally be fine. It would be a perfectly fine trade. And then obviously, it didn't do anything the next day, didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything right. And then, over the weekend, just gone. Soxel, same deal. Literally exact same day, exact same trade. I bought it as it kind of got over this little pivot, and 1376 basically closed tiny red. I took off like $1,200 on it. I mean, nothing, and then, did nothing wrong the very next day. And then the very next day, and here I am regretting it. It's up $4 a share. Yeah, like AEVA. It's like you refuse to hold it overnight flat. You're like, oh, I don't have enough cushion. And you just like don't respect your stop. And then all of a sudden, but I mean, the better setup was like right in here. I mean, this thing. Or a little bit lower, 5.6. I mean, this thing was really nice. Tried it on 4.30 and 5.1. Yeah. I mean, you could have tried it the next day too, 5.2. Ah, ugh, I hear you, man. I know the pain. All right, Nab, I'll see you in the room, brother. I'll be in there. Oh, shoot. Guys, thank you all for being here. I can't even believe 15 minutes flew by that fast, answering a bunch of questions. I'm got to get to the room and start my stream there. Appreciate you guys for being here. I will see you guys in 23 hours tomorrow morning. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm on X, and you guys could always ask me questions here. So any questions, please share them. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow, fresh and early in the morning, same time as usual. Appreciate you guys for being here again. See you guys in 23 hours.